right into it. So my senior seminar project, or the one I decided to present, was a mod for Terraria. So 2 years ago, I was introduced to a modding community for the game Terraria through a friend, and ended up very much enjoying the experience and what's the word? I guess yeah, I guess just experience that I got there. I linked up with a team that I found that I liked quite a bit, and started developing the mod with them. I've been working on it since 2018, so it's been 2 years from now. I'll go to the next slide. So the mod that I was working on is called Dragon Ball Terraria. It's a content mod that adds in a whole bunch of stuff to the base game. So new weapons, a couple new bosses, something called wishes, which I'll show later in the demo, and then transformations, which is kind of the main focus of the modification. Originally, the mod released in 2016 with just, I think, 2 sole developers. And since then, it's gotten multiple content updates. It was redone once, actually, already by 2 other developers before I joined on the development team. And then it was redone again, or being redone again, when I joined in 2018. So currently there are 7 main developers, with 4 being programmers, and then the rest kind of being artists that create various assets for the programmers to work with. So Terraria already has quite a bit of content in its base game. So when I was looking for a project to work with, I wanted to try to go for something that was kind of more unique. What I ended up adding in is still kind of like a content mod, but it's unique in a way that just doesn't add in more stuff that's just like what's already in the base game, which I can kind of show later. But yeah, I'll go on to the next slide. So the main issue that I ran into when I joined, or I say when I was recruited, was that the mod's codebase was kind of a mess. Since it was written by the lead developer, who is kind of just getting into programming. It was kind of one of his first projects. So we had to recode the entire mod from scratch to make it a lot easier down the line to add more content to it. And then at the same time, the current lead developer, when we were debating all this, decided to, at the same time we were recoding the code base of the mod, to add in new content as well, which was kind of a controversial decision for the team. We were kind of back and forth about whether we should break up the content into chunks and tackle it separately from the code rewrite. But in the end, we ended up going with what he decided, and decided to do it all at once, which is why when we started in 2018, it's been 2 years and we still haven't put out an update. Part of the reason that is that a lot of us are busy with college, so it's also kind of puts a damper on development, but it speeds up from time to time. And then the Yeah, the quality of the old content, we don't plan, even though we're recoding the entire mod, we don't plan on throwing away any of the old content. We just plan on kind of upgrading it to our new standards, I should say. So a lot of what I was working on over the semester was porting over some of the older content and kind of bringing it up to snuff to the new mod standards. And then the Patreons, we actually have a big enough following where we have people who subscribe to our Patreon. I don't get paid, by the way. I'm basically a slave for the other developers. But we take turns kind of cycling between fulfilling their requests. And that was one of the things that I ended up having to tackle while I was working on the project. So the solution that we came up with, as I kind of explained before, was to redo the entire code base from scratch and the content in the next update. Because obviously redoing the entire program takes a lot of time, our lead sprite artist was able to overhaul our assets for us in the meantime. As an example there, you can see how the one on the right is significantly better than the asset on the left, which was just a stale image or still image that we blew up with code in the mod. And then for our Patreons who were, starved for content since we haven't updated in 2 years, we decided to start putting out development logs where we recorded ourselves, kind of like what we're doing now, and showed the state of development. I thought about showing one of those during the presentation today, but I wasn't the one speaking during it, so I figured that I would be better off not doing so. All right. So this is the planned content that back in 2018, when we started the new update, we originally, tried to tackle. This is enough content for us to last us this long, honestly. But it was quite a large update that we were planning on making. We didn't have any half this content in the mod before. Like, for instance, we don't have any bosses yet. But over the past 2 years, we've managed to finish 2 of them. And then a lot of the UIs that I have listed there, we ended up finishing, like the hair UI and the, I don't have it listed there, but we also had a overhaul of our transformation UI, which I'll demo later. But we ended up having to cut back on a lot of what we wanted to put together in the next update because of this. So we were aiming for we were originally aiming for a 2019 release, but we overestimated how long it would take to, recode the entirety of the mod. So we cut back from 4 new bosses to 3. And then we completely dumped the new biome we were working on. And part of the reason for that was it was a little bit lacking in content. But the main reason, I think, was because the development team was just sick of messing with the world generation code. It kept on bugging out, so we decided to shelve it for later. And then we also had a new subclass planned for our main class, which I'll kind of show later, as I keep on saying. But we decided to shelf that in the same update as the biome when we do that. So since I mentioned it, I figured I'd show what I mean by slightly buggy generation. The structure that I have circled in red is the cave that we were planning on adding. It's kind of like a mini-ish dungeon, which is why it looks a little bit odd compared to the surrounding map, which is randomly generated. In image 1, the part that I have circled in green is supposed to be above ground. And for some reason, it decided to spawn in the middle of the world, buried underneath a crap ton of snow. And we could not figure out why for the life of us. Image 2 shows kind of how it's supposed to spawn, although it's supposed to spawn more in the middle of the peach-colored square there, and also above ground. But it's just all these generation issues, part of the reason why we scrapped it and pushed it off for a different update. So the tools that I use for development is mostly Visual Studio 2019 for my IDE. I mean, occasionally I'll use Notepad++ when I'm making a quick change, because it takes a while to boot up Visual Studio occasionally, but mainly just use Visual Studio. And then, so Terraria itself, I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with it, but it's considered to be a pretty fun game. It's got a couple awards and stuff. But the code that it's written in C#, and its code to put it in good light is spaghetti. If you go through the source code, it's really hard to make out what's what. Part of the reason is that it was, it's an officially licensed game, so it was thrown through and its code was obfuscated. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But yeah, its code was obfuscated, and then it was thrown through a decompiler so that we could, have access to it and mess around with the source code, and make changes. But that's obviously, massive pain to work with. So the tmodloader modding API is the main API that we use to kind of circumnavigate that. It minimizes the user's interaction with the original source code and provides us an easier way to compile the mod every time we want to test a change that we, add to it. And then the other library that we mainly use is called Webmilio's Commons. That one is mostly, it's another library that's based off of the tmodloader API. It aims to improve upon what tmodloader did. The main reason that I like it personally is that it makes networking a lot easier. I can show you later if you want me to, but I have an example of old networking code versus the new one, where it's just a lot more readable. So now I will demo. This is kind of the criteria, or not criteria, but the list of what I'm going to demo. Now I have to figure out how to swap screens. Are you able to, okay, I guess not. I'll have to stop the share. There we go. You can see that just fine.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, cool. Let me know if you can't see it when it swaps to the in-game screen. It's going to take a little bit to boot up here, but sometime this year, please. When I built it like 5 minutes ago, it didn't take this long. So maybe it's because I'm streaming now that it's taking so long to boot up here. Oh, there we go. All right, there. Let me know if you can't see what I'm doing. Should be
I'm able to
good.
see the game.
Hmm?
I'm able to see it, so you're good.
All right, cool. All right. Ignore the other names. Just messing around with test characters. All right, so the first thing that I'll demo here is the different hairstyles that we ended up adding in. So the UI design here was a kind of joint design from the entire team. We kind of, I think we designed 3 separate UIs and then ended up going with this one. I personally like the final design. You can scroll through the different ones and choose which one you want. If any of you are familiar with Dragon Ball, you probably recognize where the styles are from. But since our mod is based on transformations, we also show the different previews of the forms that you're in when you change, or of what your hair looks like when you change. That's what I meant to say. I was the one who ended up putting in all the I ended up drawing all of the shoot. Hold on, let me rephrase that. I was the one that coded in the UI here, kind of. I did the I didn't do the framework for it, but I ended up putting in all of the extra hairs, I should say. And it was a pain. Usually, we don't step on each other's toes, the other developers. But this particular UI, I don't think was coded very well, in my opinion, because a lot of it's hard coded, and it's kind of a pain to add new stuff to. So that's definitely going to be one of the things that I overhaul later. But yeah, you can change hairstyles like that. Kit. All right. So the second thing I'm going to show off is this. So this is the transformation UI, which details all the different transformations that we have in the mod. So let me show that off. These are all the icons that you can click for the different transformations. So for instance, Super Saiyan, it's a pretty famous one if you know anything about Dragon Ball. It tells you the name when you click on it, the stats, damage, speed, and then key drain, which is a new resource that we added to the mod. So you can actually cycle through forms by selecting them like that, and then hitting the transformation up key, which I bound to L. So once you transform, your hair changes and kind of get a aura around you for a visual effect. And the buff that you get is different for each form. As you can see, we have quite a few. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to come up with all the stats for that. All right. Next, I'll show off the Dragon Balls, which is also another famous part of the franchise. you know anything about it. So essentially, how this works is we have a bunch of orbs that spawn around the map. It's kind of like a new mechanic. And then when you collect all of them, you can right-click on them in your inventory. And this happens. I don't know if you guys are able to hear, but this is currently blowing my ears out.
No, there's no audio.
All right. Well, basically he's telling, yelling at me to choose a wish. Well, there are a bunch of different options that we added in here. I'm just gonna go with wealth for now. Just gives you a certain set amount of money. And he'll disappear here. There we go. And it turns it to night, so I can't see anything. There we go. So yeah, that's a neat mechanic that we added in. Props to our head sprite artist for drawing the entirety of Shenron pixel by pixel. Next, I want to show off my favorite weapon that I created so far, because it took me forever to do. It's a lightning-based skill that chains to nearby enemies. I'll shoot it off real fast. I am especially proud of the visuals on this because it's done completely with the game's like Dust engine. What it does is it throws a bunch of like random points in space into an array, and then shoots them out in a line at varying distances to make it seem like it's drawing like lightning. And then it draws dust in between each of the nodes until the lightning projectile dies. And then the AI that I added into it, I'll show you here. Once it hits a enemy, it splits off and chains to the nearest 3 enemies. So besides the effect, I always thought that the rest of it was pretty cool. All right. So now I'll show off one of the bosses that we added in. I'm gonna move to a different area over here. It doesn't get caught. All right, so this boss took us a hot minute to do. I think we're developing it for a couple of months. Oh, I'm going to die if I keep on doing that. It has, I believe, 5 different AI stages. And the first one is it kind of just floats around and then slams into you like that. You know, it's pretty basic. It's got a nice telegraph there with the dust flying out before it slams down. Let me see if I can damage it and get it to show one of its other stages. Oh, hold on. There we go. I'll do some more damage. Hopefully I'll show one of its other stages here. Otherwise I'm gonna have to kill it. Not to waste enough time. Oh, there it is. So yeah, that shield there actually deflects projectiles. When I was demoing it earlier to test it out, I ended up killing myself. And there's its other phase. It does a bunch of rapid teleportation and then kind of rushes at you. Oh, like that. We tried hard to telegraph where it would be going because the beta testers that we threw it to said that it was kind of hard to predict. So I'll kill it here. There we go. So that was our first one. All right. And that's all I have for the demo. So I'll exit out and go back to my PowerPoint. All right. There we go. So when I was doing the project, I actually was expecting to have a lot of issues with the other developers on the team, because at that point in time, I've hardly developed much with other people besides in like a hackathon, for instance. So I assumed that we'd be stepping over each other's toes, since many of us were in different varying levels of experience. Like one of us was just entering college, and then the lead developer has been programming for 13 years professionally. But surprisingly, we didn't run into too many issues besides the UI thing that I mentioned earlier. Part of the reason why I think we didn't run into that many issues was due to the fact that we were redoing the entirety of the mod from scratch, and kind of designing the code base together, which I know helps a lot compared to joining in halfway through like the mythical man month. Then, balancing the stats towards the base game was also a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And manipulating the projectile AI. When I went into programming the projectiles at first, I was kind of skeptical about whether I could figure it out, because it's a lot of velocity math. But surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. There's a lot of nifty functions that I could use to kind of ease my pain there when I was testing. All right. So Terraria's fantastic draw code was a lot harder to work with than I originally thought it was going to be. Rather than Unity grouping stuff together kind of as like a parent object and child objects, Terraria draws everything in layers, as you might expect from a 2D game, but it does everything in layers. So it separates the arms, the legs, the chest, the eyes, the hair, and just about everything else into separate layers, and makes it incredibly difficult to group them all back up together when you want to manipulate all of them at once. So I was having a really rough time trying to figure out how to do that. And then porting over the deprecated code from the old mod was also pretty difficult. It was created originally by somebody who didn't have a whole lot of experience. So my issue was trying to take the code that was, pretty hard coded, and then try to turn it into something that was a lot easier to add on to later, instead of hard coding everything and making it hard to read. And then trying to iron out the AI design flaws and the bosses was fairly difficult, as every time we sent a beta to our testers, they always found a way to break it. Like the ship there would get stuck in the wall or something somehow. So if I could restart the entire thing from scratch, I would probably not redo the entire code base from scratch at once. As one would think, breaking the recode into different chunks would be a heck of a lot easier than completely restarting it from scratch. And part of the reason it would be easier would be because we would be breaking up the content that we're adding in with it into more manageable chunks, so that we can release maybe something that helps internally along with a content update. So that way we're not sitting there for 2 years trying to recode what we already have and then working on new stuff. And then I would probably try to create a more focused schedule for the development team, because a lot of the time we were trying to figure out who was on like what task, but we ended up forgetting who was doing what. We do have a Trello that we use, but that's more so of keeping track of like what we're doing rather than who's doing what. So that's something that we kind of need to be better about. So then my next step is I plan on finishing the rest of the weapons in the mod. I want to completely redo the tile generation in single player, because in single player, multiple tiles to prevent griefing in multiplayer, we added a kind of failsafe that will respawn certain items to prevent people from hoarding them. But if you don't have them in your inventory and place them in a chest or something, then it'll keep on spawning in duplicates of said item, and you won't be able to collect all the unique ones that you need. So I want to completely redo the generation in single player, so that way you don't run into that issue. You don't have to carry all those items with you. And then I also need to balance the stats more so towards vanilla, because it's just a little bit wonky right now. Our team's goal is a Q2 2021 release date. Hopefully we can make that, because we've been pushing it off for a couple of years. So, any questions? To go back to the chat to see the questions.
Luke, I'll jump in with a question to start some things off. This is kind of a tangential question.
All right.
You mentioned using an API. The last two times I've done software engineering, I've had the class work with APIs. The first time, things seemed to go pretty well. This semester, it seems like students could not figure out anything with an API. And what I'm talking about is just how to connect it to Visual Studio.
Oh.
Do you have, first of all, maybe a two-part question. How did you figure out how to connect your API in order to use it? And maybe a follow-on is, any hints on how to help explain that to others?
I can show you how I did it real fast. Let me share my Visual Studio real fast. All right. Look, the Zoom stuff is kind of in the way here. All right. So originally I ended up getting help setting up my Visual Studio to kind of work on the mods. Since I was a sophomore then, and the only experience I had with C# was my experience with Unity. So I got a lot of help from the lead developer at the time, and he showed me that you can actually add references to certain files that I downloaded and threw into certain folders. So for instance, this is the DLL for Webmedios Commons. It's just the compiled version of the library that I was talking about earlier. You can connect it to the code just by browsing and then selecting the file that you need. And then once I did that, let me see if I can open up a file that uses it. Actually, hold on. let's do that. And then, oh, that's not it. There we go. So yeah, I was able to use it just by referencing it in the dependencies there. That's more of a Visual Studio feature, however, rather than connecting it through C#'s framework. So I'm not, I wouldn't really know how to do that otherwise, because I haven't done it before. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
That's great. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I don't know if I missed one in the chat or not. Let me move back up here. Wrong one. Documentation.
I had one question. From working on a project with your team, were there any language barrier or like time zone barriers that you had to deal with? If so, how did you overcome that?
Yeah. That's a good question. One of the developers, funnily enough, he lives in Britain, so his time zone is completely different to ours. It surprisingly wasn't that much of a issue, since we use Discord to communicate, and then we have our own separate channel where we develop the mod ourselves and kind of discuss everything that's going on. We just ping each other and let each other know that we have certain questions for each other, and then they'll get back to us when they have time or wake up. Although I suppose what you're asking is if we all are working together at once on something, is that much of an issue? I mean, I don't have a problem, as you know, being my roommate. I don't have a problem staying up late. So I'd be willing to stay up like 3 in the morning to work with him on a problem if need be. So I guess it can be tiring sometimes. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
I had a quick one. I don't know if you covered this earlier, Luke, but what did you use for, how was it, just sharing code with your teammates?
Oh, we use GitHub. I create a new branch and then kind of work off of that branch, commit the changes when I'm done the part that I'm working on, and then we'll merge the branch back to the main one and delete it. And then if we have any questions about certain parts of the code, what we'll do is we'll either take a screenshot and then post it in Discord, or literally copy and paste it into Discord and chat about it there. There's actually a community in the tmod loader API that has a really good spot where you can ask programming questions or questions about the API. So I use that as a resource a lot as well when I'm trying to figure out how to do something. It's nice because it's not just a resource for Terraria mods, it's also a resource for just general programming questions. So
cool.
That's good.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
I have a question.
All right.
So, based on your 2 years of experience in the game programming, what do you think is more important, following the best convention or using your creativity?
Did you say the convention, the best convention or creativity? Could you repeat that once more?
I just
think I
say
misheard.
during your programming, what you found
Yeah.
is more important. Say your own creativity or finding out the most the best convention.
That's a really good question, actually. I think the answer to that depends on what you're trying to do. I know one of the lead developers that I work with. He was really really anal about following conventions, and would always kind of have an issue with anybody who didn't follow the conventions that we were all using. But on the other hand, I think that being or creatively solving an issue in a way that we, one that we couldn't solve a conventional way, is a definite valuable asset to have, and something that has helped us out quite a bit. Let me see if I can think of an example. I suppose an example would be when we were creating the transformation UI that I showed off earlier. We have, as you saw, quite a bit of transformations in the mod. And just like the draw code, working with the user interface code for Terraria is a pain. So we wanted to avoid that as much as possible. So what we did was we made it so that when you create a transformation, you just have to create the code for the, you just create a definition for what you want the transformation to be. And it automatically generates the UI for us. So that way we can avoid touching the UI code as much as possible. It was a little bit more of an unconventional way that we did it, but the result was way better for the development team and saved us a lot of time in the long run, which was kind of the whole point of our recoding the mod in the first place. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think you showed me a good example.
Okay. Okay. Looks like that was the last question since we ran out of time. So thanks for having me.
Hang on, we have 2 more minutes. Do you want me to go now, Dr. Littman? Okay, let's just wait for another 2 minutes and then we'll go. Okay, so I'll do my presentation. So my project is Awesome Fat website. So I can give you an overview of the project. So the problem that I have is that Dr. Littman has a company called Awesome Fat, and his company is about like different software. So he wanted me to create a new website for his company. Why there is a problem? Because his old can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yep,
you.
we can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
So then the problem is the website is too old and it's not really colorful. So I'm just gonna remake the whole website, and then also he wanted the customer to add payment and also track the order. For example, like booking a service and when is when he can come to their place to give them advice about their application and stuff like that. So my goal is to create a website with a homepage, about the company page, service page, contact us, just like if you can send Dr. Littman an email and then a login page that you can create an account. We're gonna have an online payment system for customer to book and pay for the service. Um, and also I'm just gonna planning on doing the email system for customers. So if anyone have like a question, they can contact Dr. Littman, or if he updates like anything about the website, for example, like their scheduled time, he can just send that too. So there's different functionality for different roles of user. There's two type, which is customer and admin. The admin can add the new service, check orders and delete orders, stuff like that. The user can pay for a service, check their orders and kind of like contact Dr. Littman. And also I have a friendly chatbot to guide the users around the website. So that's the goal. About the solution. So first of all, before I create the website, I create a web prototype using Azure. So it's easier for me to build up the website. I use Angular and Bootstrap to do the front end and kind of a little bit of the back end of the website. And then Firebase to store data and also used to authenticate users. So if you have different account, different emails, you can log in with that. And then Node.js and SendGrid for the email system. So I can send dynamic email with different templates. A dialogue flow from Google to train a chatbot assistant. So while doing the website, I have some bugs. So these bugs are, one of the bugs that I have, which is really annoying, is that when when I log into the website, authenticate and stuff like that. So just on refresh, the user will lost right away. So I need to like re-log in again. So I have that bugs for a couple of days, and then I found out the solution is that I can store the user the user UID into the local storage of the website. So then it keeps the user logged in. So a chatbot is pretty painful to set up because like the interface is really complicated. So I find like an interface to use it, which is called Communicate. And I didn't know that it's a pay subscription. So it was I used that and then go for like one of my professor to test for the chatbot, and it just doesn't work anymore. So I find another solution, which is Dialogflow Messenger, which is one of the things that they have built in with the Dialogflow. And then the email templates, I first do it with NoteMailer, which is also built with Node.js, but then the email was too plain, so it doesn't have any pictures. I cannot modify it or anything like that. So in the end, I use SendGrid for dynamic and better looking emails template. So that's that. And then expectation. So one of the things that I find is really hard to do was authenticated. So it takes me so long to figure out how to keep the user logged in because like you just keep logging out on refresh. So it's just really hard. And also it's also related to security issues to like how you can store the user and stuff like that. The chatbot initial hookup was pretty painful, like I said. and because like the interface is really hard, you want it to be like a friendly chatbot so you don't annoy your user. I create an email system, but then I do it 2 times because, like I said, NoteMailer is just doing like one email template and it's like really plain. You cannot do anything with it, and I'll show you later. SendGrid is a little bit more dynamic. They have a picture into it. You can, modify the email templates just like how you want it to be, and it's also really easy to set up. One thing I find with Angular is that the web routing is pretty hard because like when you look at the website, there's like a slash and then the routing after that. So it took me a while to figure out like how to connect those links together, and there's like app childs and stuff like that. So it's yeah. And then one thing that I find is really easy is that Firestore to store data is quite easy to like push data up to the Firestore and then get the data from a Firestore. It's kind of hard when you first set up because there's requires a lot of dependency. Chatbot is also really easy to train once you have it set up. And then one thing I'm pretty surprised is that PayPal API and credit card payment is pretty easy to set up. I thought shopping cart would be also hard, but it turns out to be a little bit easier than I thought it would be. So that's that. And then next step. So after this project, if I have more time, I'll create like a food review page for Dr. Littman's, and that's what he asked me to do. I need to find a server to host my website. And also like, since I do a lot of code, I need to like rewrite some of the code for like future maintenance. And since I'm using like a developer API right now for PayPal, I need to somehow change that into the PayPal API so that the website can be used. Yep. And then I would like to give thanks for you guys to listening, and then thanks for Dr. Littman for the project idea, Blade and Rocio for help me bug over the weekend. So then I'll show you the demo here. Oops. So this is the website that I created. There's the home page. There's like an about me page with Dr. Littman's on it. If you scroll up, you can see these are scrolling too. So that, and there's different service for the website. We have application development. This is an overview of it. There's like example products that his company have, and if someone's come here have any question about it, you can contact Dr. Littman's right here, which is this tab right here. And also if you log in, so when you first log in, you come in here, you don't have any account at all, you can sign in. So like that, and then an email to use, and then the password. So that, and then you sign up for it. An email will send to you just to confirm that you already signed in to an account, which should be here sometime soon. So then I'm just gonna sign in here. Yeah, so there's an email coming. It will set your name on it. Thanks for signing up. And then if you want to learn more, just click on that button. In here, this is like a user account. So right now I don't have anything since I didn't book anything yet. In here, if I want to like modify my name, my phone number, I can do that. If I want to reset my password, I can do that too. So it will update the password, and then when you log out, so like right here, when I log out, log back in, this is a new password. So this is an old password. It will give you an error, but this is a new password. So it lets you log in. I'm just gonna change it back before I forgot. So yeah, and then oops. And then in here, so when you come in here, there's different service here that you can book. For example, if I want to book this service right here, and I want to book like another service right here, I can just come in here. There's all my service. I go to pay for it. So this is like a PayPal developer environment that I can use to test the payment. So when I'm done paying, the card is cleared out. And then these are all of my payment right here. So that's all for the user. So then when the user is done, you know, if I'm an admin, I come in here. So I can see that, oops, purchase date. I can filter this page to, pretty sure. Let's see, yeah, this is the one that we just pay right here. This is the one that I have yesterday. So these are only orders that we have for the users. And then if the user is just saying that, you know, I don't want the section anymore, you know, they send us an email, we can delete the sections like this. And then there will be an email sent to the user saying that the section has been deleted. Which is, yeah, which is that. Let's see here. And then for example, if I'm here as an admin, I choose the meeting date and time after I'm talking to the user, I can update it using this tool right here. Oops, that's too late. And then that will also send the user an email saying that your section has been updated. Refunded order, if I refund anything here, it will show up here. So like, let's see. There we go. Purchase day, descending. That's my name. If I delete this one here, and then go to here, searching for my name there, you can see it right here. Edit profile, the same thing for same thing that's similar to the user. So if I'm an admin and I want to add a new service, I'm just gonna choose a picture. So when I add this in, the service will be updated over here. This is what we have over here. And then contact us. So if I'm an admin, I mean, not an admin, if I'm a user over here, and then I want to contact an admin, I have my name in here. Oops. And then company name, service here. So what happened is that there will be an email sent to a user as a copy, and then an email sent to an admin saying that you have a new email. So this is sent. So this is an admin account. It should show up soon. So after that, so this is the copy for whatever emails you're sending. This is an email that the admin will see. So that's that. And also I train a chat bot. So for example, if you come here, you doesn't know anything. So you're asking, you know, it's saying that I'm iWeBot. How can I help you today? So if you wanna asking about the company, just say, click on that. So we'll say this company run by Dr. Littman. This is him. You know, so if you want to hear some joke about Dr. Littman, you can say yes. This is a joke. If you find this funny, you say yes. That's probably it. No, okay. If you don't find this funny, that's probably it. If you have other questions, just say I have a question here. So then if you want to know more about the service, come in here. You want to know more about the coaching service, it will give you like the guide how to go there, and then there's a link that you can click on it. So that's how you can come here, try to book a service. Let's see what else we can do here. So if you want to contact, same thing, it will give you the link here. If you want to know about, how to pay for a service. So you can, it show you like an option that you can go to coaching consulting page, which is right here. And then there's a card right here for you to go to. So for example, if your card doesn't have anything and you want to proceed to checkout, it won't let you do that. If you just log out here and then you want to come here, try to book a service, but you're not logged in yet, it won't let you do that either. So that's that. You need to log in for doing that. There we go. So I think that's probably about it with my project. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
If you could start over, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
I would say I would find a better way to store user authentication, which is like I told you before, it's pretty hard to do it. So that's why here, I need to log in order to do it. So here, this is a security issue because you can see your user ID here, which is like, I just find a quick way to solve it because I couldn't find a way to like make the user stay in here. So that's part of it. And also like I said, Dialogflow have something for like user-friendly here that I used, but I want it to be like a little bit more interacting with my Firestore here when it can like pull data from Firestore. So that's something I wanted to train for my chatbot here too, that I couldn't do it yet. So that's that. Does that answer your question, or I'm just confusing people?
Yeah, no, that answered it. Thank you.
V, had you worked with Bootstrap much before? I think that's what you said you were using. Did you find it very hard to use?
I worked with Bootstrap before because I worked for a company down in Mequon. So through my work, I learned about Bootstrap, and I also learned it over the summer just to do these projects. So over the summer, I talked to Dr. Littman saying that I really want to do a website. So I learned Bootstrap and Angular over the summer, and then he just gave me an idea for a project. So that's where I start with.
Got it. Thanks.
Hi, V, this is Maddie. Good job on your project. One quick question. Going back to authentication, how much, if you could like put a percentage of how much of your development was spent on authentication, what do you think that would be?
What do you mean by that question?
So out of all of the development that you did for this project, I assume that authentication was probably a big portion of that. Do you know like about what percentage you spent on that?
I'm not sure about percentage, but I think I spent at least a week and a half. So I spent most of my Saturday and Sunday all day long for doing these applications. So it's like 20 hours per week. So I would say around 30 hours just to try to figure out how to authenticate these things, because it's just keep logging me out, and also like how to set up with Firestore too for like authentication stuff right here.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question to ask you. So you know that when you are trying to storing the authentication in local storage, will it be cleared when you close the browser?
No, not yet, but it will clear if you log out. So it will clear right here if you log out.
Well, I guess when you log out is because you write code to delete the local storage, the key value pairs.
Yeah.
What I mean is, that's one question. I mean, because local storage, I think it is based on the URL, as you can see, to start when you are visiting the local host, 4,200, then you will, the local storage will be available. But what if they change the URL? For instance, if you change it from HTTP to HTTPS, they may not have it. But for sure, that's not a big problem. My question is, I think commonly or traditionally, people will store the authentication in the cookie. I was wondering, did you try it?
I do so much research on it. Haven't tried it yet. So yeah.
As you can see, nowadays, we know all the sites will tell you, do you allow us to using the cookie? Well, that in before everything is hidden under the blanket. But traditionally, people just using cookie for storage the authentication, which is definitely not secure enough. But local storage has the same problem, I think. It's because you use it, which is safe in the browser. Say you don't really hash it. Okay, that's my experience when using the authentication. As I said, traditional people using cookie, and you choose to using local storage, which is fine.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question since no one asked? So we can see that the administrator can schedule the meeting time. Why the user account? Is there anything in behind, like the logic in behind?
Yeah, so my service is planning that when the user, when the user book the service, they cannot just take the time. And then I just, I talked to Dr. Littman about this, and he said that he want the user to book the service, and then at the same time, he see it so that he can contact the user, set out the day and time, and that's where he will update himself the meeting times and date. So that's where I limit the user to doing that.
Okay, cool. Since it's a user requirement, definitely that's it, correct.
Yeah. And also I also limit the user on delete sections because I give that roles, I give that things to admin. I think about having user, delete the sections, but that's just not right, because if you do something like that, it should be something that admin do. So also that if the user is want to delete a sections 24 hours a day, 24 hours before the meeting day, they cannot do that too. So that's something that I also warn the user to before they do that. So do you guys have any other questions, or is there anything that you want to see? Oh, or I can show you quick moment here. So this is dialog flow, like I said. In order to train that chatbot, I create a lot of intents here. So if you're just asking like dumb questions like, hey, how are you? It's probably, okay. I can, tell me a joke. Anyway, that's not good. But yeah, I train it with a lot of data here. So that's how it can help guide the user there. Oh, SendGrid. So this is an email template. So in here, you can add like company logos here. You can add like different service here. This one right here is hooked up to the back end, which is the one right here. You can see this is SendGrid. Whenever it's sent an email, it's sent 202 code. There's different templates here, different templates ID that you can hook into it. So that's
a reminder. I haven't even, as soon as I got home, I started cooking dinner. But I don't know how to use this thing.
Nobody's talking. Anyway, so that's that. I told you guys that I did the email 2 times. This is the original email. It's all it have. It just have a name here. Jeff, can you mute your okay. So yeah, this is just a plain email that we have. I have it, so that's why I change it. It's probably
Mine says please wait, the meeting host it took a second. Hang on.
so yeah.
It took a little while.
Okay, if you guys don't have any questions, then I think I'm good for my presentation.
I think we missed it. Really? Yeah, because I think she just asked for any questions. There's nothing there. Mine just says it won't let me in. It says, please wait and I'll let me in soon. What's the say of a message? It ain't a graduation, it's a presentation, so I guess it is.
By the way, thanks everyone for coming or listening.
Can everybody see my screen just fine?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, looks good.
Sweet. Sweet. So I built a project called Kudos. I built it for the company I work for, SkyGen. My higher up boss has actually talked to our department many times, so I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the company and kind of like what they do and things like that. So yeah, I built it for them. It was really cool to kind of build it for an actual client and get dynamic feedback from my bosses and things like that. It kind of gave me the experience of building a software application for a third party, which eventually I would kind of like to own my own business doing that someday. So it was a really great experience. So the first step to solving any problem is recognizing that there is one. As Dr. Locklear always likes to kind of harp on us, computer science is just problem solving. So what problem does Kudos solve? A lot of companies have decided to become much more HR driven in the last decade. And what this means is that they pretty much decided to care about their employees more than they have in the past. It's really great for the employees because they get a lot more benefits. This can be seen at companies like Acuity, you know, because they have the Ferris wheel, the rock climbing wall, things like that. And it's seen at companies like SkyGen because we have a family-like atmosphere. You know, we all know each other. We joke around a lot. We're all very close-knit. It's just really run like a family. But companies don't just do this, you know, to feel good. That is part of the reason. And, you know, treat their employees well and ethically, you know, that's part of the reason. But it's also to make a profit. When they have employee retention, people stay along a lot longer. You get some veterans in the game, and eventually your profitability can skyrocket because of it. So obviously that's a very important thing. But COVID kind of threw a wrench in all of that because especially at SkyGen and even like companies like Acuity, when you're not meeting in person, it's a lot harder to kind of have that family-like atmosphere. Before, you know, the joking around would happen person, maybe during, you know, like the daily stand-up meeting, there'd be a couple jokes thrown around, you know, just kind of to boost morale. There'd be some luncheon things like that. But during COVID, we can't really do that because we're all working remotely, you know, so we have our daily stand-up, we joke around in it a little bit, but, you know, it's just definitely not the same as having an in-person experience. So, yeah, and in 2020, this can be extremely catastrophic to a company. If they've worked so hard to retain some employees, especially veterans that could probably go out to a different company and make a lot of money, it's a lot harder to keep them right now. The reason being is there are no longer geographical barriers for where software developers work. It's a lot easier now for me to get a job in New York, making a New York salary while living in Wisconsin than it ever was before. So for, you know, a company to kind of keep its people, you really have to boost that morale a little bit more. So the main question on hand was, how can companies make their employees feel valued and included while working in a remote environment for the indefinite or even permanent future? This is another question that Dr. Locklear really likes to ask, and I actually thought it was very important for this problem. Why is an electronic solution needed? If we could solve this problem in non-electronic means, I think that would be best. You know, if there was a way that it would be scalable for managers to, you know, do more face-to-face meetings, even if they were socially distanced or outside or something like that, that would probably be better. You know, it'd probably make the employees feel a lot more welcomed. And, you know, I don't really think there's ever going to be a substitute for the in-person interaction, but just due to the circumstances, that didn't exist. So we, when we sat down to build this app at my company, we actually kind of thought about all those options and decided that, you know, maybe this is something worthwhile to actually develop. So the missions always stay the same. We always want to make our employees feel valued, but, you know, we just can't do it the way that we used to. Another thing that we looked at was, is there anything that has already been built that is preferably free that we could use instead of building our own application? And will that work? Why or why not? This was kind of huge because when we were researching this, we realized that we actually already had something. We had something into Microsoft Teams. It was a native app in there, and nobody used it. So we kind of had to think about, okay, well, there's already this option to recognize employees and to kind of boost morale. Why aren't our developers using that? The conclusion we kind of came to was twofold. One, Teams just didn't seem very natural for that. The developers are used to using teams to kind of get work done, and to give another employee recognition doesn't always feel like work or like solving a problem like developers are used to. And two, it wasn't company specific. So you'll see when I kind of give the demonstration, I kind of went above and beyond in some cases to make it more company specific, to make the employees feel like it was more tailored to them. So what are the core requirements? It has to be electronic. I kind of already went over that because COVID, a lot of our employees are probably going to be working remotely forever. It has to be expandable. So what I mean by this is the requirements started by us just having this in the IT department, but it has quickly become something that is probably going to be expanded to all the other departments and possibly even to other companies outside of SkyGen. I'm very hopeful for that because that'd be really cool for me, but there's nothing for sure about that at this time. We wanted to keep track of metrics. What this means is, so let's say we're all in our daily Scrum meeting talking about what all the developers are working on, and the product owner says, oh, hey, yeah, Noah killed it on that job. Noah did a really good job on that yesterday. Thank you for doing that. The manager that's in that meeting can take note of that. And he can say, oh, this employee has gotten a lot of recognition in a while. He must be doing something right. When it's time to go up for promotions, if there's 4 people that are deserving of it, he thinks, but only budget for 3, well, the 3 that got the most recognition are probably going to be, you know, first in line to get that. So we wanted to kind of simulate that in a way and let it kind of turn into a management tool in a sense. It has to draw people in to use it. So this is something that Professor Lackler talked a lot about in our AI class. And one of the kind of core aspects to a program is the power behind it. And just to kind of paint an example of this, this is actually my second senior seminar project. My first one was a real estate application that all the functionality is done on it, but nobody's using it, so it has no power behind it. And I didn't want this to kind of be that even after we deployed it. I wanted this to be something that people actually use. So I kind of got inspired a little bit by watching The Social Dilemma, and I modeled this off of Twitter. So that was a tough thing to do because I wanted it to be somewhat addicting because I want people to come back to the application and actually use it, but I don't want it to be too addicting where people don't get their job done in the first place. So yeah, and then in an ideal world, we want it to stay company specific. Like I said, that just means that it's going to make the employees feel more valued and more recognized because they're used to seeing the lingo from pre-COVID things. It's just going to kind of make everything flow better and might entice them to use it more because it's easily recognizable, some of the functionality in it. So what changed about our plan? So in our application, we have admin controls. So in your work environment, you have managers, things like that, and these people are the admins. In the beginning, we were only going to have one admin, and that was going to be Mike Gardape. He's talked to us many times. And so we were able to give him a ton of power because it's one person. We can really trust him because he's the head of the department. So why would he really do anything malicious? And, you know, there really wasn't any way that we could have gone wrong with giving him a ton of power. But as we were kind of building the application, we kind of showed some of the product owners it. They thought that it was really interesting too, so they wanted to be admins as well. That changed things. So we had to nerf the admin controls quite substantially. And we actually had to make it so, like, we had it so the admin could delete users. We took that away. So now only me or other developers working on the program can delete users currently. And we had it so the admin was the only one that could delete kudos or delete the actual object that people will use to recognize employees. We also kind of made that more democratic in a sense because now any admin can do that. So let's say, you know, like a product owner realizes something that was dedicated to the wrong team or something like that, they could delete that, you know, to cause any management tracking issues, things like that. The point system, we also had to nerf. We added a point system to gamify it quite a bit. This is one of the ways that I kind of made it more addicting in a sense. I nerfed that for now because it just made things easier for development. Originally, what the plan was is we were only going to allow people to give a certain kudos per month. And we we're going to do that by only allocating a certain number of points per month. We got rid of that for now just to make development easier and to just kind of test what things are right now, just make it a little bit more simple so there's less hurdles for the initial group to kind of go over. And another thing that changed was the amount of people working on this application. When we first started, it was a whole team during the planning stage. It was awesome. We had UX developers, we had front-end guys, we had back-end guys, we had a couple managers, and then it ended up just being my main manager and me, and then me. And so I did essentially most of this development. My main manager did a little bit of it, and he kind of showed me the ropes on a couple things. But yeah, that was kind of a big shocker, and that's why it was kind of perfect for a senior seminar presentation, because I essentially built this application. So yeah. Now let me demonstrate the app. Okay, so this is the application. We use Visual Studio, virtual machine. So we use Visual Studio as the IDE to build things in. We did that. A lot of my technology choices I actually didn't have control over because they were just things that my company was already using. That's important for a couple reasons. We didn't want to use something that developers weren't used to. So in the case that later on down the road, another developer, another intern in the future is managing this product, we didn't want them to have to learn a new tool and reference the documentation all the time, things like that. So we wanted to kind of just fit smoothly into our company culture. So yeah, we use Visual Studio and then Microsoft SQL Server as a database background. So the first functionality of the app, you can see that there are these kudos objects. They're outlined in boxes here, and they are sorted just by date, earliest to latest. So that's one of the ways I modeled it off of Twitter. Twitter, at least when I was really big into Twitter, now they have an algorithm, was kind of known as being the app without an algorithm, and I thought that was really cool. So when we were in the planning stage, there was an idea thrown around about, do we just sort it by team right away, or do we just sort it by what project that people are working on right away when the people open up the app? And eventually we just kind of decided against that for a couple ways. That it kind of boosts the competition, it makes things more addicting, and you know, if your team is small, you might not have a lot of activity on here, so you might not visit the app as much, just things like that. It just kind of made more sense to open it up in the beginning. With that, though, you can narrow it down. So let's say I only want to see kudos that are given to my team, which is Team Delta. I can click on that, and then you will see that only Team Delta is shown. Let's say I only want to see kudos that have been given to me. I can click on that, and I'll see all these kudos. A lot of them are tests, so I'm not that good, I guess. And then we also did a core value. So SkyGen has company-specific core values that are in like the employee handbook and things like that. So we added that into the app to kind of give the employees a sense of familiarity. So let's say, for whatever reason, respect is really down at the company. I'm not saying that this would ever happen, but if it is, any manager can click it, and it will filter the kudos that have been given by respect. So let's say like they want to track that, oh yeah, in the last month, you know, only 2 have been given from respect. Maybe that's something we want to work on. So then if I want to get rid of all filters and just go back to the normal feed, I can just click this right here. If I hover over it, it'll say show all kudos, just to kind of make that a little bit simpler. And then we have it right there. Another piece of functionality for the management aspect of things is the leaderboard. So this took me a very long time to do. This is kind of where I learned a lot about UI and things like that. And I seriously probably spent a month of working on this every single day to kind of get this where this is. So this is something I'm pretty proud of, even though it's really simple. So we have the leaderboard. So we decided to go with 10 leaders. And if you hover over their name, it'll say their points, and their points are also labeled here. Top 3 are labeled by bronze, silver, and gold, and then all the rest are just normal. The user can also toggle for teams. So right now during the testing phase, we've only tested it with teams Delta and Alpha. So that's why those two teams are the only ones there. But as more have points, more will be there. To unlock the rest of the functionality, though, we have to log in. So I actually have everything saved in my cache because I change my password so often. So I'll go back to Kudos. So here, after you log in, you can kind of see how this little box appears. It kind of confirms what account is logged in. So Noah is logged in. I know that, so I feel, good about that. And then I have admin controls right here. So a normal user would only have the logout feature. I have the edit user and add user feature, and I can also edit my own account. So to give kudos, I can pick the employee. So I made a test employee named Mr. T. Where is he? Yeah, Mr. T, because he's the best. And Mr. T is on the A team, so we're going to go Alpha. And he's working on the Kudos project. I just had that loaded in, so I'll say that again. And, he's really taking ownership of things. So then I can just write test and give him the Kudos. And it shows up right here automatically. And then I can also like that. So I got a Kudos given to me by my manager, so I liked that before. If I wanted to unlike that, I could do that. That like goes away automatically. Things like that, we all implemented. So since I gave this Kudos and I am an admin, I have power to edit or delete the Kudos. So if I want to edit the Kudos, I can load it up and it automatically gets loaded back into here. So let's say, oh, I spelled kudos wrong. I just spelled Kudos. I can add the S right there. And now that automatically gets updated right there. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, Mr. T actually didn't do a good job on there. I can delete it right away as well. We get a little confirmation window that pops up here, delete it, and it's gone. So yeah, and then, so I kind of went over the like thing. Oh, points. So each Kudos, when you receive one, is worth 10 points. Each like when you receive one on a Kudos is worth 1 point. So I have a total of 91 points right now, which is then reflected here. So yeah. Now I can kind of go over the code a little bit, which is pretty cool. So we actually did everything in partials. So I have everything labeled here. So if I go to the leaderboard dialog, this is the one I said I spent a ton of time on. So I'll show this one. So I used Bootstrap and Angular to kind of hook everything up. I really liked using Bootstrap personally. I think that it's a really good tool to leverage. So we just hooked everything up here. It's a partial that then gets called into the index. So search here. So all the partials are labeled right here. I labeled them with a comment like this just to kind of make it easier during the maintenance stage. And then this is all the only thing that's shown all the time, no matter where you are. So you can see those buttons right here that are on the top screen to filter it, to go to the leaderboard, things like that. So yeah, that's it for the actual application demo. Move this. So I had some like major takeaways from this that I thought were really cool. And I think that this project made me, I would say, a 90% better developer than I was to begin with. It kind of helped me find what I really like, and that's front-end development. I think that front-end development is really awesome and important because if I made the app super sloppy, nobody would want to use it, and then it would just collect dust like I was saying before. I also learned how powerful databases are. We were able to do so much with our database with this application, just be able to make it so powerful, like having the login feature. Eventually, we're going to have an email feature, things like that. So it's pretty cool. I was able to do this pretty much because I had a really good mentor that was pushing me. So like with the leaderboard thing, I would send him a PR and he would be like, oh no, you actually want to move this over about 2 pixels to the left. And at the time, it just seemed really tedious. But now that I see what my first rendition of things were compared to the last one, it's like a world of a difference. And then, you know, if I would have set out to build this application like I originally did, just say, okay, I'm going to build, you know, a social media application for, you know, that's company specific, I never would have been able to do it. So I just broke it down into really small parts, and, you know, I was just like, okay, well, I have a couple hours to work on this Saturday. So I'm just gonna, you know, let's get the leaderboard going, and, you know, and things like that. So I broke it down into really small parts. Just, okay, what do I want to use to show this? A billboard might work nice. Okay, so let's do that. How are we going to display the information? What do we want the titles to be? And, you know, just piece by piece, eventually you have a really complex application, even though you just built a lot of really simple parts. What I would do differently. So this is actually really funny. I was supposed to deploy this for my senior seminar project. That was something I really wanted to do because I wanted a huge aspect of it to be me refactoring it and kind of getting feedback and talking about that, because that's something that Dr. Lackler really talks about in his classes. And I know that's really important for the software engineering process. But when we went to actually deploy it, because the application is ready to be deployed right now. When we went to deploy it, the team that's in charge of that pretty much said, oh, hey, we are torn between switching to Angular or Blazor. So we actually cannot deploy that until that decision is made now. Had I known that going into it, I would have just used Angular right from the get-go instead of Angular.js, because now that's not supported. And now that our company's not using that anymore, they don't want to use it. If I would have done Angular just right from the beginning, we would have been good. So my next steps, obviously, I want to convert it to either Angular or Blazor, and I want to deploy to the IT department. So I want the IT department to be my first kind of test case. The reason for this is we have UX designers in there, we have head software developers, we have software development managers, product owners. These are all people that have seen things many times and have gotten feedback, so they know what feedback is useful and what feedback isn't. So I'm looking to deploy it there so they can give me dynamic feedback right away and kind of tell me some major ticket items that I should work on. I want to add an email functionality. So what I want that to be is I want it to be so when you receive a kudos, you automatically get an email in your company email saying, hey, so-and-so sent you a kudos, click here to log into it. That's kind of to make it more addicting, like I was talking about earlier. That's just another way to kind of get people back on the application. And then I want to get feedback, refactor it, and then deploy to other departments and repeat steps 4 through 5 many times, essentially forever. This is really cool because this is going to be one of my projects when I am at SkyGen after school. I'm going to be keeping up with maintenance for this. So in a way, I kind of program myself a job in that sense. So this is something that a couple students said the last semester of doing senior seminar presentations, and I found it very helpful when doing mine. So I just kind of thought I'd break this down really quick. For future students doing their senior seminar presentations, I would recommend don't like set yourself out to solve, you know, like an amazing problem. I didn't have a problem that I was really itching to solve, but instead somebody came to me with a problem that they had, and then I got really passionate about helping that person. And that really helps me a lot, put in the hours I needed to finish this project. The next thing is to get a mentor. I had my manager as my mentor, but, you know, Littman could be a manager or could be a mentor, things like that. Your life will be so much easier because somebody that has experience will point things out to you that you've never seen before, and will just kind of make your end product come out much better. And then Littman always says this, but just to kind of reiterate it, break every problem into many smaller steps. You know, like I said, if I would have set out saying, oh, I'm going to build the functionality to edit, add, and delete a user all at once, that would have been very overwhelming. But instead I said, okay, well, let's first start with the easiest one. That's going to be adding a user. So let's do that. And then, you know, you kind of have the framework from that point forward, since a lot of those other functionalities are similar. All right, any questions?
No, I'd like to start off just really with a comment. This was excellent. This was good work. And what I appreciate most about this is how you seem to really internalize a lot of the management aspects of software engineering. We sometimes get so focused on the coding and the programming. It's good to hear your experience that requirements and specification, that was important. Working in a team was important. Thinking about UX was important. And all these other that are very important issues for future production programmers. So I think this is great. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Noah, I do have a question. Can you show me again Visual Studio on what actually the technology you are using?
Yeah, for sure. So we use Bootstrap and Angular. So I can show you some of the Angular work right here. So we use AngularJS. Like I said, if I could do it in the future, I wouldn't do that. I would use Angular. The code isn't going to change a lot when we refactor it, just because they're so similar. But that's just going to be why you see some of the weird older syntax things here. Yeah, so here is that. And then for Bootstrap, show you a cool example of the leaderboard, I guess, is pretty cool example. Or actually, I can show you the login dialog. So for Bootstrap, what we really leveraged from Bootstrap was a lot of the symbols. Trying to find where a good example of one is. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Oh yeah, so like where you say like FAFA users, you know, that's obviously like a Bootstrap logo call. So we kind of got that from there. And that was super easy to use. The documentation on Bootstrap is really really seamless. And there's some really good tutorials, you know, to kind of fill in the gaps.
I saw a lot of VM. Where does VM define?
Oh yeah. So that's another thing that I would like to continue to do in the future. VM is from the John Papa Style Guide, and kind of talking about like what Dr. Locklear was just talking about. That's just to kind of make maintenance easier in the future. So what we're doing is VM is just defined as this right here. That's just in the John Papa Style Guide. We wanted to follow a style guide to kind of make development and maintenance easier in the future. That's something I'm currently working on converting over, because at the end, I sat down with the front-end developer and he was like, hey, if you ever heard of a style guide, you should probably use it. So now I'm converting it over to that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, when I was looking at it, I was suddenly confused because apparently the base is the I think it is just the .NET because it's on the Razor. Then you say you are using Angular, and I would say, where does the Angular define? Okay, yeah, everything makes sense, and that's a really good combination. But for sure, if you're talking about AngularJS, that will be another technology.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited to convert it over. I actually really hope that we use that other product, because then it would be all written in C# code, and that would just be, you know, super easy. So I'm hoping we can find a way to use that within our company, but it's out on the table for that right now.
Okay, good. Thank you for explaining your technology.
No problem. Thanks, Wade. All right, any more questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
I'm ready now. If I can go, I don't see Quentin in there, so. Everyone can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll share my screen here. All right. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jordan Witt, and this is my capstone project. So just a little intro about me. So I'm from Livonia, Michigan. I'm actually not from Wisconsin, where you guys are at. I'm assuming that's where most of you guys are at. I think me and Quentin are the only ones that actually go to the Ann Arbor location that is in here right now. I might be wrong. Not sure. But yeah, no, I am a senior here at Concordia University in Ann Arbor. I'm also a student athlete. So when I'm not in school and doing the things that I need to do, I'm playing soccer here on our varsity team, in our Ann Arbor location. Sorry, that's a picture of me right there in action. All right, so the problem for my website and what I was trying to solve with it. So COVID had closed down a lot of facilities for sports, and not just sports, but obviously everyone knows like restaurants, other places, and all that. A lot of these places were things where me and my friends would hang out at, and do a lot of stuff, whether it be like go out to eat, whether it be go play soccer, whether go watch soccer, hang out at each other's houses, the typical stuff that we would do before pre-COVID. But as far as live sports go, that was like the only thing that we really ever did, and we were stuck in for a really long time, following protocol and rules and everything. So yeah, I mean, soccer was what we did when we were bored. It was something that kept us busy. It was something that we really didn't notice was gone until it was actually gone. We couldn't do it. So it was tough trying to get through that. I don't know if they've lifted stuff in your guys's state, but with us, they're about to prepare for another lockdown. So they're probably going to close off everything. They're still trying to figure out if restaurants can do their stuff in facilities and sports and all that. But new hobbies were a big thing, especially here. Obviously other people trying to find new things to do, obviously keep themselves busy and everything like that. So we were scrambling to try and find a way to, connect with each other, but do it from a safe distance, or, in other words, online. So why does it need to be solved? So it needed to be solved because we wanted a way to interact with one another, and have fun. We're all, big in the sports, and we're all very competitive. So we wanted to have something that was fun, but also something that was competitive at the same time. So the Bundesliga is one of the leagues that I watch. It's the soccer league, or football league, whatever you want to call it. But it was one of the leagues that I really have on my TV, and it was the only thing that I had at the time. I think Bundesliga is sponsored by Fox Sports, so that's what comes on our cable. So in terms of availability, we had it all the time. They started back, I believe, in the 16th of May, and they had tried to implement different ways to interact with the fans, people that were home. So at the time, they had built a website that offered a fantasy league, for people to join. I don't know if any of you guys are big into fantasy football or fantasy hockey, fantasy baseball, whatever. There's a bunch of fantasy sports websites that have their own idea of what they think fantasy sports should be. So the website itself expected people to know about their website, and there was a lot of volume coming in for them because they were really the only league that was up and going during COVID. So they were getting a lot of volume on their website. We're getting a lot of people joining in on the fantasy league that they had just started. And just in general, it was a ton of just volume. There was a lot of people coming in to watch the games live. There's a lot of people sending pictures, a lot of people sending support and everything. So I wanted to solve a way. I wanted to try and figure out a way to solve how to basically like deal with our boredom that we were dealing with like every other day. So my solution was I wanted to make a fantasy football website or soccer website from scratch, and I wanted to do it in a certain amount of time. It was around, I believe, like late September was when I was working on it, and I had tried to find out what was the most like beautiful way I could do this, like the way to just sort of just put this out on a website and have a bunch of people say, oh, this is awesome, this is great, like I'm using this is something I want to use all the time. But I didn't want something that was like super cliche from all the other fantasy sports websites. And I came up with a different plan about halfway through the semester. This was around like mid-October, I want to say, and I was like, okay, well, let's make a sports companion website. So I wanted to make one that was with you all the way while you were doing your fantasy league for Bundesliga. So me and my friends, a lot of them don't watch the Bundesliga like I do because they don't have it on their cable, or they have like different channels, whether it be like the Premier League in England or it be like the Serie A for Italy, or like Liga in France. But a lot of people had different providers and everything, obviously, and my friends had different providers, so we were often on Discord streaming like what we saw. We had like multiple like little screens going up so we could watch different games at a certain time. Obviously they're like 6-7 hours ahead of us in Europe, so we had to find out ways to meet at a certain time that was perfect for everyone, where it wasn't invading in the work schedules or school schedules or anything like that. So I had found a way to make a website that was simple, but also very helpful and something that you could interact with for people that didn't really know much about it. So here we go. Let's see. So this is the website here. So it says introducing your Bundesliga companion. It's a fun and interactive fantasy football companion that makes it fun for everyone, whether it's your first time watching football, getting into fantasy leagues, you're new to Bundesliga, or you're a diehard Bundesliga fan. So I wanted to have 3 different parts of like the website. Obviously I wanted to make it, eye-catching. So I added in some GIFs here. These are some of my favorite players in the league. Obviously I don't know if any of you guys know any of them, but they're pretty good players, and I enjoy watching them play a lot, and it makes me smile every time the team wins. So these teams right here on the left, that's Giovanni Reina. He's actually from USA, and I think he's like the youngest to not the youngest to score. He's the second youngest to score for Borussia Dortmund, which is a really nice feat to have. So he's very essential for Dortmund's part of their team. Serge Gnabry is in the middle here. So he's a part of the Bundesliga. He's a part of Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is like a powerhouse. Bayern Munich is like, I don't know. Bayern Munich's like the Golden State Warriors for like the NBA. Like they're always winning. They're always on top. Always have the best record. Occasionally like they'll slip up or something like that, but like people just focus on how they play. And I would have to say that like Bayern's like the best team probably in the world right now. They just got off of winning the Champions League, which is like the league where all the teams, depending on what league they're from, they come together and they play a bunch of tournament matches, and they try to decide who will win the cup. Sort of like the finals in the NBA or the Stanley Cup in hockey, whether you guys watch hockey or something like that, Super Bowl and all that. It kind of just plays out with playoffs and everything and tournament based games that go through and decide who's the best of the best. Here on the right, that's Yusuf Poulsen. He plays for Leipzig. Leipzig had got promoted from like the 6th division. There's a bunch of divisions in Germany. The Bundesliga is the first. And Leipzig at a point in time, I think it was 4 years ago, before they were in the Bundesliga 2 years ago, they were in the 4th division of the German like top flight, basically. So like there's like different like step downs from like the league, and they had really like came up and did like a Cinderella story, almost like underdog type of story. So Yusuf Poulsen and Leipzig are the underdogs of the league, very respected, very good team. Okay, so what I wanted to do, basically, I wanted to show an easier way, more so like spoon-fed, not really like spoon-fed, but I wanted to give the people who didn't know about it a little push. And some of my friends did not know anything about the Bundesliga like I do. So I wanted to give them a bit of a push to let them know, like, hey, like you can go and do this. You can take our quiz. You can take our squad suggestion that we have. You can go through our player database and look and see who's here. So just to demo everything really quick for you. So I have a bunch of links here down at the bottom, and there's different links that take you to different sites and pages and everything. So I tried to strictly keep everything. I wanted to keep everything in HTML, primarily because like I wanted to like challenge myself and make sure like, okay, I don't want to use PHP. I don't want to use jQuery. I don't want to use any of that. I don't want to have to use SQL. So I tried really hard to keep everything HTML, JavaScript, CSS, just keep it super simple, but have it interactive and have it be fun for the people that are new to it and wanted to get into it. So here is the first link. So this link takes you to a quiz that I made. So the quiz is labeled and it's league colors and everything. League colors are gray and red. But basically the quiz will go through and you'll take it. Depending on what happens and what type of score you get, will determine, where you're at as far as your understanding in the Bundesliga and what you think of it and what you know more about it. So a couple of these questions are things that I just knew from experience, from like watching and everything. A lot of these are different ones, but you'll go through and answer everything. Once you go through and answer all the questions and all that, it takes you over and it'll take you down here and you'll go through and implement a score. So here I'll just go through and basically go through and just check off everything that I have, or what I think is right, what I think is correct. Obviously I know every answer because I made this, but it checks your score. So it says you're done. If you got under 50%, you got a lot to learn, and we recommend that you go to our squad suggestion page and find a team to get you up and running. So after the test, it gives you your score. So I got 6 out of 12. here. I can't go back and I can't like change my score here. And I can't do the same thing for my score percentage here either. So after you're done with the quiz, like it was saying, you go to squad suggestion here. So this is what I have in the middle here. And this is a pre-made squad that I have that people can look at. And this is what I think is the most, I guess, balanced team in the Bundesliga as far as picking people for your fantasy squad. So I had everything set up to be completely different. This is where this is probably the thing that I'm not most like proud of. But I wanted to make everything a little bit different, and I wanted to have players in the spots where they would be at on the field. So I had a template where it had the field and everything, and then I had a part of the template where you could click on that certain part of the field, and what would come up is suggestions for certain players. So it's not just like that where it just goes through and it shows you everything, but I wanted to have it set up to where I could put a player on the left side. I click on that left side. The left side gives me a bunch of options as far as players go. But I wanted to put something on here just to show you guys what I was planning on doing, what I plan on doing after, definitely for sure, and trying to implement that in. But basically, when you hover over a side that you want to pick or you want to choose, it showed what it showed a certain type of player that you wanted to put into your squad. So right now, Alessandro Playa, he is like top of the line right now. He can't stop scoring in games. Very talented. He's from France, and very reliable in front of goal. Won't disappoint you at all. I have a bunch of other players here that I'm not going to go through, but there's just a couple of photos here that I put up just to show them in action, and then just to put a little description here down at the bottom to let you know what they can do for you, what type of player they are, and how they perform in game, and why they're a good pick for your fantasy team. So yeah, obviously Gio Reyna is probably one of my favorite players right now, so I have him in my squad actually. So yeah, after the suggestions are done, if you guys want more to look at as far as like players go, I made a database. So I actually went through and like did the data myself. So I had to go through, I had to put down other players' names, I had to put down their first name, their last name, I had to put down where they were from, I had to put down the position that they played. As far as stats go, the most important stats depending on their position. So the database shows you the data and the stats that I had collected for each player, and it gives you a way to interact with it. I thought was pretty cool. So here I have it set up, and right now this is the goalkeeper tab. So basically there's goalkeepers here. We have them labeled and I have them in alphabetical order from last name. But when you search them up for first name, so if you typed in here, so let's say I wanted to search up Gregor Kobel. So I can type in the first name, and actually I can just type in G because it's the only name here that starts with a G as far as goalkeepers go in my list. So I had done this through some CSV files, and I went through and picked everything out and made it in the HTML. Like I was saying, I was trying to keep everything HTML, CSS, and JavaScript based. So I was able to go through and make a list of everything. This is just for people who want to find out more about the person that they'd be putting in their squad. So Gregor Kobel, obviously goalkeeper. He's from Switzerland. He plays for Stuttgart. He's 6'4", and I wanted to add height here because I feel like height is an essential thing as far as goalkeepers go, depending on their position. I had a certain aspect of their game labeled in the database. So height was something that was important to me. So right here, shots on targets against. So these are the shots on goal that Gregor faced. And then these are the total saves that he had. So, we're not gonna, throw in his defenders helping out too, making sure goals don't go in. But we're just basically picking out his individual stats for people that want to see it before they actually put him into the squad. So right now, his save percentage is around 70%. He's got a total of 30 saves in the league right now, as of I think this was Monday, I believe, because I had updated everything on Monday. But there's a couple games coming up on Friday and Saturday, tomorrow and then Saturday. So I'll probably have to go back and re-put in the data there and change it and update that. But as of right now, he has 1 clean sheet in the league, and his clean sheet percentage is 11.1 percent wise. So that's just everything for the goalkeepers. That's just a short little a demonstration of that. And also I wanted to show the attackers. So I did go through and do a lot of attackers. I have a ton of them in here. And obviously it's the same thing with the goalkeepers going in as well. You can type in a letter here. You can type in a full name. So I'm going to go with, let's see. Let's do Erling Haaland. So Erling Haaland right now, very sought after in the fantasy league. He's about 20 million, which is, I think that's a good chunk of percentage from what you actually get when you start. But he's an awesome player, really good, strong, tall, very fast, and it goes to show with his goals and his talents and everything. So he's from Norway. He plays for Dortmund currently. He has 10 goals right now. He has 2 assists, 29 shots, and 13 of them being on target. If I wanted to look up another player, I can search that as well. So I could do, let's do Robert Lewandowski. So I can do Robert here. So right now, Robert is in the run for being the MVP of the league right now. He has 12 goals, 4 assists. He has 34 shots, and 15 of them are on target. And yeah, I mean, it's just as far as domination goes, he's an awesome player, and he would be an amazing part of your team. But like Erling Haaland, he's very expensive. So you have to cut back on what you want to buy and what you want to purchase on your team as far as your squad numbers go and the amount of money that you get at the beginning. So that's about it for the demo. I'm just going to go through and show everything that I had. So those players from that suggested team, the balanced team that I had, I actually put them in my Bundesliga squad. So they're labeled differently. The website is completely different from my webpage and my project. I just wanted it to be, like I said, a companion app to help you out while you go through. This is nothing to do with what I did as far as work goes. But you see here, the players here at the top are here from the previous page I had pulled up. So I have Alessandro Playa, I have Justin Kluivert, and I have Josh Sargent here. So all those guys are in my squad. And I have, let's see, as far as defense goes, I think I had Angelino here, I had Lucas Herdusky, I had Timo Horn, and you have to pick 2 goalkeepers. So I had to pick the ones that I thought were the best as far as money goes. I picked Matt Hummels in the back and then Kevin Volz. So those guys are in my squad. So Angelino's there. And then I have Matt's there, Kevin Volz there. I picked a couple other defenders here as well. But Manuel's in there, Manuel Kanji. And then Mitchell Weiser is there as well. So I have them in my defender spot. Goalkeepers in my goalkeeper spot. And then I have my midfielders in there. I think I took Josh out because I realized I had enough money for who was it? I think I had enough money for, I believe, what did I put in there? Yeah, no, I had another attacker. Yeah, I had Marco here as one of my forwards. So I put Marco up because I had the extra money for it. He's a way better player than Josh Sargent as far as, my opinion goes. But yeah, Bundesliga has their way of like recommending what you should do as far as if you don't know anything. But if you wanted to auto complete your squad, you can do that there. But I wanted to have it to where people had a grasp of what they thought was the correct squad to put out from my website. As far as it goes, I wanted to give them an option that leaves them a little bit of money left over so they can use that for other things in the fantasy league. So here, when you're done, you can confirm transfers. It shows you completed your squad. So you can go up to your lineup and choose your starting 11. So here you just pick your starting forwards here and go through, and the website does it for you pretty well. And here, we'll just go through and we'll auto complete everything here. So it put all the players that I wanted in my squad. Basically, it has everything that I wanted here. So yeah, no, the squad's looking strong. It's something that I wanted from my balanced squad. Not every player that's in here in the squad is what I wanted, but as long as I have the players that I had from my balanced squad in there, I'm totally fine with that. So yeah, after you're done forming your squad, you can pick a formation. So I like running 4-3-3. As far as formations go, it doesn't really matter for what you want to put. It just depends on if you're an attacking player or a more defensive player. I'm very conservative, but I also like to attack when I can. So here you can pick your start forward. So right now, I think I'm going to have this player. My midfielder is probably going to be Gio Reyna, and then my defender would be Angelino. So after I'm done with that, go through, and I can choose, put him here. And after you're done, basically, that's it. So you'll go through, and this is when the whole part of watching the game comes into play. You go in, you watch the game, you check and see how your player's doing, how your team's doing. So you have you'll have the website open up on like one tab, and then on another tab, you'll have the game up, maybe on a different screen if you guys have multiple monitors, but you'll go through basically, you'll watch the game, and depending on how these players play, you get a certain amount of points. And they get popularity depending on how well they played. So I have Playa as my star midfielder. So if Playa performs really well in the next game, I believe they play tomorrow or Saturday. But if any of these three players here that I have starred play well in their next game that they have, depending on whether it was form, they get a goal, they get an assist, their popularity went up. Depending on what happened, I will get a bigger boost in points. So I get 1.5 points instead of the actual points that you would get, which is just, I believe it's just like the normal multiplier, which is just 1 times. But you'll go through, you'll watch the game, and this is where basically it all comes into play. You have the companion app up. You'll watch the game, watch your team, and make sure that everyone is performing well. If you need to make changes before then, you can put different players in different areas that you need to put them in. So I can exchange Mats Hummels out for Kevin Volt. I can put Mats Hummels in the right side. I feel like he might perform better on the right side. I could put a Kanji in Angelino's spot. If I really wanted to, I could take him out, even though I have him as my starred player. So I'm going to put him back in. And I'll just have these four on the bench. So I have Ritsu, I have Gonzalo, I have Manuel, and I have Timo on the bench. And I'm going to keep everything the same here. So yeah, as far as the demo goes, that's about it for the demo. So get back to the presentation here. So what had went wrong and what had went right? So I felt like my idea was really optimistic, and I definitely made a couple of mistakes in the beginning that I probably could have definitely handled them. But I spent way too much time on a certain part of the website than other parts of it. I also was really I was trying to talk to my professor about it in my other class as well, because currently right now I'm in advanced web development, and it's 460, I believe. So we're working on like jQuery, SQL and all that. We have a lot of Postgres and pgadmin that we use, and a lot of our code is done with HTML and PHP, but we have it implemented into our databases that we have for pgadmin and everything. And I couldn't figure out why my CSS code wasn't working. I felt like it was lacking, and it just wasn't working for my website. So I had to go in to my HTML code and put everything into a certain class and a style in my tags, as far as making sure that, hey, I want this font here. I want this font to be this big here, whatever it be. But yeah, I had some trouble here, definitely, and I feel like I could have spent a lot more time on trying to figure out how to fix my CSS code. I just wanted to make everything look really neat and nice, and not like, your cliche, like, website that you go to maybe to look at, I don't know, maybe to look at some homework or something like that. But I wanted it to look neat, and I wanted it to look nice, and I wanted the person using the website to get a good grasp and a good feel of my website and have fun with it. So the next steps for me, I want to try and implement my squad suggestion system. So like I was saying before, I wanted to have everything set to where you like hover over a certain part of the area of the page, and that page pulls up different types of links that'll show you, your players that you should put in your squad. I feel like it would make my website a little more neat and flashier. And also working more efficiently and spending adequate time. Definitely. I feel like I spent a lot more time on some things where I really didn't need to. But as far as the website goes, I thought it looked pretty well for a demo. I'm definitely going to go through and make some changes to it, though. Try and make it look pretty before I start sending documentation and implementation to professor. But yeah, no, my plan is definitely to do that and just make it look a lot more neat. So yeah, basically that goes over. I wanted to add more features into my website. I wanted to give more options to squad suggestions, not just one squad that I had there. I wanted to make it more immense and have people interact more with it. I was stressed out about it a lot. I found myself like putting it to the side, but I also wanted to make sure that I put enough time into it. So I definitely would say I would want to have a little bit more fun and not stress out over the assignment. So as far as the presentation goes, that's about it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat or just talk here on Zoom. Any questions from anyone? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Professor Lippman. Yeah, it was Jordan. I'm sorry. He had emailed you about why he wasn't going to be able to come and do the presentation. He was trying to figure out if you had gotten it or not, but it was like an emergency and it was really urgent. Something happened in the family, so that's all he told me though. But he said he has his stuff ready and everything. He just can't present today or tonight. All right, sounds good. No problem. No problem.